Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good vibes, good energy, good people. It's your boy Mickey Fenty, aka Mickey Made It. If you're new to this channel, you know what to do to this channel. Subscribe right now. Also, if you want to support my brand, it's inspiredbydreams.shop, and that's the place to go. Just find our new drops and see what we're dropping next. Is always something unique. Okay, today's episode we're talking about immigrant parents versus first generational Americans. Let's get it.
Mickey made it. Mickey made it. What you made, Mickey?
Mickey made it.
My friend and I were talking recently, and we were talking about how it's really a struggle to come from an immigrant household and be the person to be really ambitious and to go out into the world, right? Just because, for one, you're doing everything on your own. Like, your parents don't really know a whole lot about how the American education system works, how the American internship and work process works. So a lot of it you're counting on yourself to kind of figure things out, while also having people to provide for, and you just want to make a better life for your parents and your family in general, right? But we were talking about something super interesting that I've never really spoken to anybody about, but I've always acknowledged that I was feeling this way, but I was just kind of whatever, right? And let me know if anybody else feels like this. But do you guys ever feel extremely guilty for the opportunities that you have? And do you ever think about your parents and what they could be doing with the opportunities that you have, and how they could literally just be the most successful people ever? I don't know what it is, but every time I get a travel opportunity for work or something like that, where all my expenses are covered, and for example, I'm studying abroad right now, and I'm just all I think about is oh my god, my mom would love this. Oh my god, my mom deserves this. And I just think back and I'm like, God, if she was given these opportunities, this woman would be unstoppable. If this woman was given these opportunities, she would be killing it. I just know for a fact that my mom would be a doctor, because she has all these little remedies for the most random sicknesses. I call her up every time, if my back hurts, she'll tell me exactly what to do, and I'm just girl, you need to be in medicine, right? But we were just talking about it, and I was yeah, sometimes for opportunities that I get, and just things that come my way in life that really are blessings, I share with my parents, and obviously they're always happy for me and everything, but I'm just oh, I just wish you guys had this opportunity, because my god. And even my other friends that I've met who also have immigrant parents, or parents that just didn't have the opportunity to get the life that they deserve, or get the education and things that they deserve genuinely, and I meet them and I'm just you guys are such amazing people. You guys just deserve all the good opportunities in the world. I don't know how to explain it, and I'm low-key getting emotional, but I just, every time I get an opportunity, I'm just oh my lord, my mom would have ate this up. My mom would have ate this up, for real, because she's just such a determined, hardworking, just the smartest woman I know, and this woman has never gotten any type of education, ever. And it's just all street knowledge, and all things that she inherited from her mom, and her mom inherited from her mom, and it's just amazing. And she's just so ambitious, and even with her little English that she knows, she's out here killing it, and I'm just my god, if you had the opportunities that I have, I know the whole point is for her to bring me here, so I have those opportunities, but I'm if you had those opportunities, girl, unstoppable. So that's why I'm working my ass off, because I'm you deserve the best, mama. But I don't know, we were just talking about that, and I was damn, that's so real. I tend to pass over it, or I'll just randomly comment and be oh, you guys, my mom would love this, and my white friends will be what, okay, and I'm just you don't understand, my mom would love this, seriously. But it was just a nice, refreshing conversation to have with somebody that understands, because whenever I say it to my other friends that just don't have immigrant parents, they're just kind of yeah, I guess. I guess my mom would like it. And I'm just oh. Anyways, with that being said, something that I've been working on is to turn my guilt to motivation. I'm already kind of a pretty motivated person, I'm not gonna lie. But overall, I just try to remember that at the end of the day, like, I'm also doing this for them as much as I am doing it for my own success, and that really is my main motivator. And at times where I'm just like, oh, I don't want to do this, I'm blah blah blah, whatever excuse, right? I genuinely just, like, if I'm not doing it for myself, I'm doing it for my parents and my family and my siblings. So that's like a way that I've kind of been trying to like see it as from a different perspective. Or like another way that I think about it is like, you know what, one day I'm gonna give them the world. So I deserve to be experiencing these happy things. These are what they want me to be experiencing. Anyways, shout out to all the first generation college students that have felt that way before, because it kind of is like a shitty feeling, but also like it's a good thing. Like, it's a weird feeling to have, and those feelings are honestly so valid, and our parents deserve the world, and we will be the ones to give it to them. So lucky us, honestly. What a privilege to give our parents an opportunity to a better life, you know what I mean? So cheers to us. And if I don't know if it might just be me going through this, y'all. I don't know, but I hope not, because that'd be a little awkward. But yeah, but anyways, as challenging as our lovely parents are, shout out to them for everything that they've done for us. And I know that they'd be so amazing if they had the opportunities that other people had and the privileges that other people had. But anyways, shout out to our parents for giving us the opportunity to even experience these things. And shout out to us for killing it and being where we are to even have this feeling, you know what I mean? So let's keep going, y'all. Like, we got this. Okay, bye.
I think my parents has once ever been like, oh, how much are you putting in this month? Mm-hmm. You know, I think it's more of a protection thing in our culture, and even though they are a little stricter, they do protect us for a lot longer.
And the word you keep saying is culture, because I think African Americans have culture. You know, there's a whole discussion of African Americans don't have. No, I think they have culture.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But the thing is, the African culture is like, for example, in Africa. Well, let me not say African. Nigerian culture, you can stay with your parents. Really, you stay with your parents until you get married.
I know. I feel like that's African culture in general.
As a girl too,
and that's why it's like. You're never in a rush to do anything, bro. So
true, because your parents are like, I got you.
You're giving time to. Your parents not trying to say, oh, so please, I'm trying to enjoy my. Because like I feel like in a lot of African American, especially African American communities, I see a lot of parents. You turn 18 or you turn 21. Oh, so now it's time for me to enjoy my life, man. So you got to go do your own.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, bro, okay, I understand that. You definitely got to go enjoy your life. You can't just be a bum, or you can't be a bum just relying on your parents all your life, right?
Right.
But that delivery, I think that delivery is gonna push them to nonsense. But then sometimes it can push them to greatness too as well. So like I said, it's just a balance.
It's 50-50.
If you're first generation, a child of immigrants, might just be a lot harder for you to succeed. It might just be a lot more difficult of a road to go down. Most times you're the first one to do it. You're the first one here planting roots within a new country, a new culture, a new society. Very, very different from the one that your parents grew up in. Like, I did not understand the magnitude of that statement alone until I was well into my adulthood. You realize, like, I'm the first one here doing it. It is me. Like, I am the creator of this. It's nuts. So if you're first gen, child of immigrants, have some grace on yourself. You're killing it.
I feel like there's a lot of immigrants or first generation children that can relate to what they were talking about. Even with, for example, the working class guy, so the main character, he was this guy who was just, his stress was around bringing his parents back to America and providing them with a life to pay them back for the sacrifice they made, you know? And I feel like this is a very common trend for first gens. I feel like the themes that you go through in life is like feeling stressed out or feeling a level of guilt for not being able to live up to the standard, you know, even if you're working towards that standard or you're there, you're always like, how am I going to get there now? How am I going to make sure my parents are good and like I can pay them back for all the sacrifices that they've made for me?
It's an added layer of stress and anxiety where you're kind of expected to reach 100. And everything that you do it can fall like subpar.
I understand my privilege of being a first-generation American to immigrant parents. We will truly never understand what they went through to get here. Honestly, I cannot imagine coming to a different country, taking an 18-hour flight, your first time on a plane, and having to adapt to that American lifestyle from a lifestyle that was so different from that. My parents, they came in their 20s at very young ages. My mom was actually my age, 21, whenever she came to America. And I just cannot imagine having to leave my country, never been on a plane before, taking that 18-hour flight to America and not knowing anyone. It's just truly something that we will never understand as Americans and as children of these immigrants. And that really takes a lot of strength from our parents to do something like that. It's just funny because my dad, he told me ever since he was in elementary school, he knew, he was like, I'm coming to America, I'm coming to America. He didn't see any other lifestyle for him other than being in America. And the fact that their dreams and their prayers were answered to come here is just so amazing that I wouldn't know how to thank them for giving me this lifestyle other than getting my degree. Because your parents didn't come to America for nothing. They came for you to have a better life than what they had growing up. For you to just waste their time and not do anything with that privilege that they gave you, that's insane to me. That could never be me. Anyways, I think I just made this as a motivation to make it to my 9:30 a.m.
Like, people forget that I grew up in an immigrant household because, like, even though, like, I'm very Americanized, I didn't grow up with it. So I don't know pop culture from, like, 2000 to 2010. My brother's 7 years older than me, so everything that I learned that I thought was cool was from him. But I never watched sports growing up. I didn't even watch soccer. I'm Colombian, by the way. And my mom would just be like, would you rather watch a soccer game or go to the beach? And that really, like, contribute to my values with how I spend my time and money. There's just some things where I feel like friends will talk about, and then I'm just have to be like, you know, I got immigrant parents, right? Like, I don't know any of this. I went to visit my friend in Boston last year. Also talking to her mom because I forgot what team it was. I don't know. Because I was like, is that a baseball stadium? Because I genuinely didn't know. And her mom just started laughing. Because she was like, no, hockey. Acting like it was very obvious. And then I looked at Callie, I'm like, you know I grew up with immigrant parents. I don't know this shit. And I feel like this happens maybe like once a week where I'm just like, I did grow up different. It reminds me of another time where I went to visit my friend Mulan in Denver. And yes, her name's Mulan, she's Vietnamese. I forgot what I was eating, but she had little like sauce cups. And I was like, oh my god, I love these sauce cups. These are so smart. Why didn't I think of this? And she literally was like, you guys didn't grow up with sauce cups? Mind you this, her boyfriend was white, so she was asking her Colombian best friend and her white boyfriend. And I remember just looking at her and I'm like, Mulan, I'm not Asian, but I just started cracking up. Because sometimes you do think a lot of other people do stuff without thinking. It's like, hey, maybe this is actually just a cultural thing. I do have sauce cups now. I just think it's funny when there's just certain things where like there's common knowledge for everyone, and then I'm just like very, very late. Like 25 years late. It's about the beauty of life. My two moods are honestly, I know everything and I don't know anything. Just a thought that came up to my mind and I want to share with y'all. What do y'all think? Okay, bye.
You know, as a child of immigrants whose parents moved to the States in their 30s with 4 kids already, I was the first one born in the States. I struggle a lot, and I haven't heard people talk about this much, but I struggle a lot with this sense of guilt when I take on opportunities, like traveling to new places or moving to a new city. It feels odd because I know that they moved to the States to give us these opportunities, to be able to like fly out of the nest and live our lives, which is what my mom says all the time. But I feel guilty and I can't explain it. But to see experiences like going to countries that I know that they are too old now to travel to, it just kills me when I send them photos and I'm like, oh, look at me, I'm having so much fun. Because it's like this strange dichotomy between being grateful for these opportunities that I could only have because of them, but also feeling this extreme sense of guilt when I embrace them. I've traveled to so many countries and I love that I'm seeing the world, but in those moments, you know, I do get some thoughts where I'm like, oh, my parents will never get to see this. And I would have never been able to see this if my parents never took a chance and a massive risk to move to the States. Even when I moved to New York right after college, coming home 3 times a year felt so surreal because every time I would come home, and this would be like every 3 to 4 months, I would notice they're aging. A new wrinkle would show up and, you know, they'd move a little slower. It just broke me. And now that I'm dating someone who lives out of the country,
I see them less and less. And I don't know why I'm feeling so emotional. I think it's because I haven't seen them in a while, but it's just crazy how you can feel so happy to be in a world that you would have never seen ever, ever, ever. If it hadn't been for your parents migrating to a new country and sacrificing so much, it's weird. It's really weird feeling, and I don't know if you guys also feel the same.
Growing up as the first generation child of immigrants is a very unique experience. Neither of my parents were born here. My first language was not English. And the experience itself carries a unique weight that I don't think we talk about enough as the children of immigrants. Because it's not just your story, it's theirs too. My perspective, I've always felt like I lived between two worlds. I never fully fit into the original culture of where my parents came from. One of my parents actually still lives in the original home country after being here for many years, but I never fully fit in here in the United States, and I'm specifically in New York. Even the way that I've expressed myself in English has been a challenge, because the way that I express myself in my native language is so different than the way that I express myself in English. And for a while, it felt like I couldn't fully express myself in either. And with all the sacrifices that were made, you feel like there is a bit of a debt owed. And that debt is this unspoken responsibility to succeed, which puts an enormous pressure and burden on the child. And then there's guilt that kicks in when you want to follow your own path, not the path of, let's say, becoming a doctor or lawyer, in repayment of that debt. And then there's the trauma. You can still see the fear in their eyes sometimes, the struggles, and those feelings become very apparent. And it's almost like you live them yourself, and in part you do. So I feel like what we do as these first generation children is we bridge the gap between what was and what's possible. And the challenge for us is really to heal. Now, I want to be very clear that this message is not about blame, anger. It's just simply about acknowledgement and starting a conversation that often we don't have. It's not about who's good or bad. It's not about who's wrong or right. And acknowledging the pressure and acknowledging the guilt and acknowledging all of the things that come with that a lot of people who haven't been through this experience just don't understand. And healing through that is such a difficult experience, but when you get to the other side of that, it's life-changing.
Well, I'm up. I've been trying to take a nap for 3 hours, and this is one of the things that I hate about being the daughter of a Mexican immigrant is I don't know how to take naps because there's always this thought in the back of my mind, like this anxiety, like you're being lazy, you should be up doing something, like you shouldn't be taking a nap, you should be studying, you should be cleaning, like you should be at church. Like there's always that thought, and like I don't know how to rest. And I know I get it from my Mexican mom and dad because like they're always doing something. Like to see them resting is like a lifetime movie event. Like I never see them resting, they're always doing something. And so one of the things I'm trying to teach myself is that it's okay to rest, but I can't do it. I have so much anxiety, so now I'm gonna go get coffee to just try to like make it through the day because I didn't sleep last night because I also had anxiety. Is anyone else this way, or is it just me?
I'm not gonna lie, for years, the concept of first generation and its multiple meanings has been beating my ass. Like, I first became aware of it maybe like 2 years ago, I believe. Like, that's like when it really hit me, and I'm like, damn, I need to learn this shit. I was taking a class called Queer Caribbean Writing. I was an English major in undergrad, and I'm going back for my master's. You know, I'm majoring in creative writing with a focus on fiction. But in undergrad, like I said, I was majoring in English, and I was taking this class because I was like, oh, you know, Queer Caribbean Writing, that sounds interesting. And there was this story, I don't remember the name, but it took place in like, I dead don't even remember the country. It was like one of them Caribbean countries, you know, and you had these two characters, and they were lesbians. They were dating, and I think maybe some of their family didn't know or whatever. And like one of them was like more open about it, and the other one was like really shy and like closed off. And they went to like some candy store, and they got some candy, and they kind of just like hung out. Like that's pretty much the story, and you like learn some backstory about them. But in the story, like the author that's like that's writing them mentions like just like some of their background and stuff. And then I had to like write like a short paper about it. And in it, I was like using terms like first generation and second generation because I was a bit confused myself, but I was trying my best to use it. And then when I got the paper back, the professor was like, "What are you talking about?" So then I was like, oh fuck. And I never like asked him about it because I'm sure he could have explained it, but I was kind of embarrassed. So I did like my own research like throughout the years, and then every now and then I'm like, oh, I kind of get it. And then I'm like, no, not really. But I just saw like I think I just saw a TikTok in relation to like first generation. And I was like, you know what? Let me fucking search this shit up. And I think I finally come to an understanding. So please get at me if I'm wrong. Like, please get at me if I'm wrong because I want to correct myself. But from my knowledge, and I'm going to put the text on the screen, there is first generation has multiple meanings, but there are two meanings that I have in mind, right? And I'm going to use myself and my mom as an example. So starting with my mom is a first generation Jamaican and a first generation immigrant. She was born in Jamaica. My mom is from Montego Bay. And she moved to America however many years ago and got citizenship. So she's a first generation Jamaican and a first generation immigrant. Because I was born here in America, I was born in New York and I live here. I live here for all 24 years, nearing 25. I'm a New York citizen. All right. So boom, I am a first generation American and I am a second generation immigrant, right? Or second generation Jamaican, pretty much. Or not, no. Yes. Second generation immigrant, second generation Jamaican, I believe is the case. Because my mom was born in Jamaica and I was born here, that makes me a second generation Jamaican and I'm a first generation American. I don't know, like, this shit is just like, when I think about it too much, like, it just fries my brain. And I wish there was like, I don't know, like, I wish there were more terms, or maybe there are more terms, and, like, I'm just overthinking it. But that shit was, like, really frying me. But that shit, like, fried me for years. I feel like I got it, but I could be...
I seen a post on Twitter yesterday, and it was just like, as a child of immigrants, you gotta do what you want to do and let them sort their feelings out about it. And that shit is so fucking true, because if you have, like, traditional ones, it's like talking to a cardboard box when you want to do shit that's out of the blue for them, out of the norm. But it's like, didn't you have me in this country, so I didn't have your norm? So, like, I'm really confused. It's kind of up in the air. What are we really talking about right now? Trying to live vicariously through their kids. Fuck no, baby. Keep it away. It's not happening. Sorry. You know? Love you, though. You know? Fuck. It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission, because they're gonna say no. So, like, why not? Petition to start a support group for first-gen American children. Every fucking day, we are going through it. Every day, without fail. Woohoo!
So I never heard the term first-generation American until I grew up. I was raised around a lot of immigrants, and they always called their kids first-generation immigrants. Like, they were immigrants, and then the kids they had in America were first-generation immigrants. And then their kids were second-generation immigrants. Even though assimilation was such an important part of immigrating to America, a lot of my community hung on to the term immigrant.
One of the habits that I really want to stop, like, doing, that I've learned from my entire mom's side of the family, is that we hate asking for help. Like, it's almost like a bad thing to ask for help. Like, if you ask for help, it's a sign of weakness. It's a sign of stupidity, like you can't do it or figure it out yourself. And I've always been afraid to ask for help from my friends, my family, even in my career. Like, networking has been one of the hardest things for me because I'm just so afraid of, I don't know, rejection or something. And yeah, I'm working on that this year because, like, what am I so afraid of? Like, asking for help is normal.
I think as first generation Americans, our children are going to have such a different childhood and adolescence than we had. Like, it's so crazy to think about how, for a lot of us children of immigrants, the biggest reasons why we would fight with our parents when we were kids was just like their old fashioned values that we just were not surrounded by in America. Things like not being allowed to date, and things like religious conservatism, only being allowed to pursue certain types of careers. You can only be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer, and if you're not, your parents are never going to speak to you again. You're going to have these big crying fights at home. It's going to be a disaster. And not to mention, for most of us, our parents were not emotionally open at all. So like growing up, we never ever talked about our feelings with our parents. They never knew what was going on in our lives. The only thing they knew was what our grades were like in school. I don't know if this is just hopeful thinking, but at least speaking for myself, I am not going to be like that at all as a parent. I am very confident in that. My kids are going to be able to date whoever they want, pursue whatever kinds of careers that they want to pursue. They're going to know me as a person and not just as an authority figure. And I think that's something that we're going to see a lot with like the way my generation raises the next generation. I think that there's going to be a really great marriage of like cultural pride, like taking pride in your ethnicity and your cultural traditions and your language and things like that. But then also the modern values that we all adopted kind of on our own, like in school and in college. Like, to your point, it definitely sucks that I felt like I could not tell my parents about my dating life for the last like 8 or so years that I've been dating. But I just really hope that like I'm able to create an environment for my future kids where like that's not even on the table. They feel safe telling me anything. And I feel like that's going to be something that our generation strives for.
I don't know which child of immigrants needs to hear this, but your parents came to America for themselves just as much as they did for you. Yeah. And I'm not saying this applies to all, but generally speaking, don't let your parents guilt you into doing something when they use the excuse, we came to America.
This might be a hot take, but being a child of immigrants, one of the hardest pills to swallow is realizing that just because your parents came to this country, left their families, learned a new language, came here, had you, and provided food and shelter, that doesn't make them good parents. Quite frankly, providing food and shelter and the basic necessities for a child to thrive in childhood, that's the bare minimum of parenting, actually. Parenting requires emotional maturity, it requires guidance, requires teaching, and it requires constant learning of that parent to then create a thriving and functioning adult in the future. And a lot of us children of immigrants are not there yet.
Okay, one thing I could say, if you guys have been paying attention to my playlist, my culture playlist or my parenting playlist, I always tell you guys, parenting, that's the training wheels to life. And after a while, you're going to have to, take what your parents told you and separate what you're going to need and to go forward in your life and start figuring things out yourself. Because as time changes, different things, different ideologies and how you look at things change too. So I would say, there's a different dynamic in different cultures, but everything right now needs a refresh. It needs to be upgraded to modern times, and I think that's what we're dealing with right now. But leave your comments down below if you want to continue this conversation, and if you want to speak to me on my morning show, it's Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9 a.m. Till next time, it's your boy Mickey Fenty, aka Mickey Made It. If you're new to this channel, you know what to do to this channel. Subscribe,